Welcome to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger. For the next hour, you'll hear proven methods for how to live the multiple income streams dream. Ryan is passionate about helping others discover their gifts and start their own business. He's published 5 books, and his courses and group coaching programs have changed the lives of thousands of students all over the world. Ryan's books include Private Label, The Easy Way, Finding Your Grace Place, and his latest, Streams of Income. And now, here's your host, Ryan Rieger.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Streams of Income radio show. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger, and today we're chatting with my friend Jessica Buchanan. Jessica is a mom-to-be, her husband is a dentist, and they have an awesome Amazon business. So Jessica is very well organized. She has a routine for every week. She's got weekly goals, and I just love how it's all laid out, how she looks at what she's doing. She said her husband helps her out with this and provides that accountability for her, but of what is the most important thing in their business, what are the most important things in their business, and getting those done early in the week. She has a goal to get 14 new replens a week, which is amazing. I love that. 56 a month is her goal. And she's always testing new replens out, but she's a coach. She has 20 coaching students. We talked about liquidation. We talked about having, getting an LLC right at the beginning. Not that that's needed, but that just helped her with her mindset of that. This is a business. I'm doing this. I'm going at it full time. And get this, within the first 4 to 5 months of her business, she was able to replace her former job income, which is incredible. So tons of awesome tips. We talked about the profit percentages she's looking for, the profit amount. We just talked about how she's able to having to pivot from doing a lot of retail arbitrage that she loves or over into 100% online arbitrage and what that took to do that. She's got some VA. She's got a team that does her prep and ship for her. Got an awesome business, and just love this interview. Here it is. Jessica, welcome to Streams of Income.
Nice. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yes. And I just love everything that you're doing. And congrats on being on Jim's podcast. We're talking about Jim's Silent Sales Machine radio podcast, which is huge. It's crazy how many downloads he gets, and he's all over the world with that podcast.
So crazy. Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah. So tell me your story. I love hearing people's stories. It's super fun just to go backwards to how you got started and how you're doing what you're doing.
Sure, absolutely. So I came out of college with a political science degree and a public relations degree.
Yeah.
I was like, well, now what? What am I going to do now? And so I actually ended up working at a marketing agency out of college for a couple of years and loved it. I was mostly doing client relationships and project management. And so I really loved that, but was feeling ultimately full-time ministry. And so I was super invested in a local church where I lived, and they were hiring. So that worked. And so they brought me on staff as a children's ministry team member. And, that shifted over to children's ministry director to, I would say, associate pastor, maybe that's self-titled associate pastor, but just running a lot of things and managing a lot of things. And it was wonderful. And I still may go back to ministry at some point in a professional capacity, but I did that for 7 years. And at the end of that timeline, we actually moved from Florida to North Carolina. And in that season of transition, it was just a great time for me to assess, like, what do I want to do? How do I want to spend my time? What are our goals as a family? And, one of those goals was figuring out how to have more time margin. It was really hard to work on the weekends, even though my primary responsibility was only on Sunday, there was a lot of prep Saturday, communicating with volunteers and getting everything set up. And so, it was just a great time for us to assess what mattered most to us and our time and how we wanted to spend our time. And so I started looking at jobs that had greater flexibility. Either they were remote or I could pick my own hours. And so I just started exploring, and I honestly applied for lots of random jobs out there, just trying to see what felt like a good fit. And in that process, I had a friend he was starting up his own e-commerce business, primarily selling on Amazon. And he called me and he was like, hey, I'm learning about this. I'm doing this. You should check it out. I think you would really enjoy it and be really good at it. And so he sort of introduced the idea of selling on Amazon to me. And so that's how it got started.
Wow. Did he introduce you to Jim's community, or is it something else that you found?
He did. He primarily introduced me to Jim's podcast. He was like, he like gave me some homework. He was like, go listen to 5 podcasts and then call me back. Like before we invest and figure out, what it really came alongside me and helped develop me in those first few months, because he had been a season ahead. And so, so I started listening to the podcast and then plugged into Jim's Facebook group, but a couple other Facebook groups too, just to learn what was out there, watching things on YouTube and just trying to get my feet wet learning.
That's awesome. What does the first few months of your Amazon business look like? How'd you get started?
So for me, I love to live in structure and super organized. So like I definitely charted a path of really setting up the business entities and trying to get it as organized as I could before I started. And so even though I don't think you have to do all those steps before you start selling on Amazon, I did. So I went ahead and set up my LLC and got all those things lined up. Set up my bank account, my credit cards, all of that. And then we honestly just started scanning things around our house just to see, to get familiar with the app and trying to figure out ROI and profitability. And it was just helpful for us to play at home and figure out like what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
So we started doing that. And then probably the next month, I spent a lot of time at Dollar Tree. Because it like felt like this safe zone of like, well, I'm not going to spend too much. Like if I lose $30 because I bought 30 items, it's no big deal. So it just felt like a safe introduction. So, started at Dollar Tree and then just started doing more and more primarily retail arbitrage out of the gate, going to Walmart, going to lots of big box stores, local grocery stores. And then we have a lot of local liquidation stores. And those were a great place for me to learn because their prices were so low, but they were getting quality product. It was just things that Walmart or Target hadn't sold. And so that was a great place for me to start.
Yeah. Okay. I want to go back to liquidation because that's not something I talk a lot about on this podcast. It's something I used to do a lot of, but you started an LLC right at the beginning. Do you feel like there's, and you say you have 20 coaching students now, and then you're teaching them the same type of stuff. Do you feel like that there's a mindset shift when you say, I'm going to do an LLC, I'm going to do a bank account, I'm do a credit card in the business name, where you take it more seriously than I'm going to try this? I mean, like you said, you don't have to do that. You don't have to create an LLC to begin with, but it sounds like you were serious about this from the beginning. This wasn't something you were just testing out.
Yeah, I think it does change your mindset. I think there is truth to that. And just like mentally how you think about it and how you process it is different. For me, I was in a very unique position as well because I didn't have to work at another job simultaneously. We had saved a little bit, had a little bit of margin to sort of give me some runway to figure this out. And that also really helped my mindset, I think, because it wasn't like, well, this is a part-time hustle. Like, no, I was out of the gate trying to replace my income. And even though I could not do that immediately, that took several months. Of work and reinvesting in the business, that was really like my goal. And so I think definitely having that business structure in place combined with the fact that I really had my first goal was to replace my income really helped me take it seriously.
Yeah. How long did it take you to replace your children's pastor income?
That's a great question. So we started in August of 2019 and we reinvested through the end of that year. So from August to December, everything we made, we poured back into the business to increase our inventory buys week over week. And then by the next year, I was able to, 2020, I paid myself a little bit over what I was making.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
Wow. So like 4 months, 5 months, maybe? That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Great. I love that.
Yeah.
Man.
I had a lot of help from my husband, I do have to say.
Oh yeah, of course.
He was working a full-time job, but he was helping me source on the weekends. We would sit on the couch in our pajamas online and then he would help me prep and pack too. So I had a lot of support, which was really great.
That's awesome. Do you, is that a goal for a lot of your coaching students to replace their full-time job income?
Yeah, I would say that's 90% of their goals. They're looking to work. And so if they could replace their income or get really close to that, it would
Yeah.
allow them to get to a place where they could at least quit their job and then business quickly
Yeah.
in a few months.
Do you have a plan? Like if I was one of your coaching students and I said I needed to replace $5,000 a month, do you have like a path you take them through? So can you kind of describe that? Like if I was your student and I wanted to make $5,000 a month and I'm just starting on Amazon, give me an idea of what would be. I mean, I know you probably could break out a spreadsheet and all that, but
That's
like
exactly what we do.
what does that even look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one, I would create two different paths for you. I would create one trajectory based on 6 months and one trajectory based on 12 months.
Okay.
And that really allows my students the flexibility to say, how much capital and investment do I have right now? And is it really feasible or doable for me to get there in 6 because sometimes we just don't have the savings, and that's okay. Right. And so it's just better to walk in with those set expectations that it's going to take a little bit longer to get there. Yeah. So basically, I create a path for them to figure out if you wanted to replace your income of $5,000 in 6 months. I mean, we start with $500 a week, but we would need to increase that budget month over month over those 6 months to get to a place. And some of that is going to be reinvested capital from your sales, but it also might require a little bit more investment month over month, just depending on what your ROI is and how your sales are going.
So you would suggest if I wanted to make $5,000 in 6 months profit, I would need to start with about $2,000 for the first month.
That would be wonderful if that was possible. And then the more important thing is really time, because ultimately, you're going to need time invested to find those products with that profitability. And the more time that you have, the more you can spend finding more profitable products. If you only have an hour, then we might be finding products that are less profitable. But if you have 5 hours, then you have a lot more opportunity to, leave some of those lower thresholds behind and look for more profitable products.
That's awesome.
So some of it is a time factor as well.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. By the way, that'd be a valuable resource. If you ever have your own course or whatever, that would be an awesome lead magnet. Like, you're a path forward to hit your goals. Like, cause it's easy to say, I want to make 5,000 a month, 1,000 a month, 10,000 a month, but what do I practically need to do? That usually evades a lot of people. Like, I don't know how to actually make that happen.
Right.
And it really comes down to how much you spend. You got to have that budget.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome. And can you do it the opposite way? If somebody says, I have $500 to spend, I may not, be able to get to $5,000 a month in 6 months, but reinvesting that, you can put it into a spreadsheet and show me where I could be potentially in 6 months from now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
either
awesome.
Way. You could do either one. So
wow. That's cool.
Really helpful.
I love it. So tell me about liquidation. So that's something I used to do. We went to an auction place in Indianapolis. I'm from Dallas area, but you originally from Indianapolis and the Indianapolis area. And there was a liquidation place we used to buy from. And I just remember having to be very careful. There was a lot of damaged stuff. You'd have to be careful. Now you'd have to be even more careful with IP complaints. So walk me through what liquidation looks like. And do you feel like that's still a viable business model?
I definitely think it is. I think a lot of it depends on where you live and what you have accessibility to. But for us, I mean, like I said, I still go to some liquidation stores because there's just some that are so good that I can't not go. Yeah. But really at the beginning, it was a great place for us to get started. So we had about 6 what I would call liquidation stores near us, or overstock stores.
Okay.
So these were people who were going to the auctions, bringing it back to our town and then reselling it. So I wasn't even getting it at auction price. I was getting it a little marked up for what they wanted to make.
Yes.
And they had things from, Sam's Club, like Kirkland brand things, anything like that, to Walmart, to Target, like all of Target's, Pillow Fort, Cloud Island, baby kid stuff. You could tell looking at the packaging where they were picking up their liquidation from. And so we would go to those, and I mean, we just had a great experience. We got to know the managers at several of them. They would always give us bulk discounts because we would go in with like 6 sharp shopping carts.
That's awesome.
To get stuff.
Yeah.
And it was great. I pretty much avoided grocery at those places, mostly because they were either so close to expiring or already expired.
Yeah.
And beauty, I had to be pretty cautious of lot numbers and expiration dates.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of toy decor, small appliances, kitchen stuff, we did great. Yeah. And it fantastic. I mean, the ROI is crazy because
it is.
we would pick up cases of diapers for dollars and resell them. If they were like special, hard to find overnight, specialty diapers, we could resell them for $40. Like, just crazy ROI. So,
yeah, we're not talking about replens though, are you? Because you would go there and find, if you came in on a Monday and then came back the next Monday, it'd be completely different stuff.
Totally. But a few of the managers, I mean, they really knew what we were looking for. And so oftentimes if they had multiple liquidation stores and I found something that was just really great for us, they would get them from their other stores and bring them to our store to pick up, which was really helpful. So it could turn into like a little replen for a 3-month, 4-month period while they got all their stock over to our store, but not a long-term replen.
Yeah. Are you still doing liquidations at all?
A little bit. So I still go to the 2 stores closest to us. So I'm expecting in August, and
congratulations.
Thank you. In that season, we've really transitioned to try to prepare to have greater flexibility from really half and half RA retail arbitrage, 50% online arbitrage to 100% online arbitrage this year. So I'm, it's very weird for me to not be out shopping for 12 or 14 hours a day because I love it so much. But I think in the long term, it's going to be really helpful for me to be able to just have flexibility. So that's something we've done in the last 3 or 4 months is totally shifted to 100% OA. But I won't say that I don't still scoot over to that liquidation for a couple times a month.
That's awesome. Has that been hard? Has that pivot been hard to go? Obviously hard on you because you enjoy the stores, but talk about the actual process of making a change to all online arbitrage.
It's been a mind shift change for me. I think I was just really good at retail arbitrage. And so one, like living in your strength and just feeling really positive about that. I mean, I could go to find new replens every time. It wasn't like a stretch for me. And I don't say that to brag. That months and months, but you get better at it. You hone those skills.
Oh, sure.
And so, to then switch to online arbitrage, which honestly, I just didn't feel as as strong in.
Yeah.
I had to really mentally be positive that I could do it. I could learn new strategies. I could try new, strategies to find online replens. So part of it was a huge mindset thing to just, I can do this, even though it's different. And then, part of it really has expanded our sources because you can buy things from anywhere. There's thousands of online retailers, probably more than that, tens of thousands of online retailers. And so, that has been, I think, just a good shift for us in terms of diversification so that if something were to happen to one of our retail arbitrage sources, it would have really hurt our business overall. And so now that we're spread out between a lot more sources, if one falls off, it's really not that big of a deal. So that's been really great. And then I'm trying to think what else. Oh, I would say the other part of that is that we've hired a bunch of VAs, which has been a game changer.
Yes.
So, because it's harder to hire someone to go in and shop for you in store, to teach them how to source in store and pay them at a reasonable rate here in the US and really equip them well to do that and have success doing that. And so to be able to lean on virtual assistants who can work from home or work from anywhere and source new product has been huge.
That's awesome. Okay. So without virtual assistants, walk me through, if you and I were going to do an online arbitrage over the shoulder, you're going to share your screen. Obviously we won't do that here, but, just walk me through what you would do. Cause there's so many different ways to do it. What's one of your best go-to or just a tip that you would give us on where, am I starting with Amazon? Are you going to start with the store? Are you going to start with a tool like Keepa and do the data tab like Brian Olson teaches, or what?
All of it.
All of
It's
it.
all so good.
Yeah.
I really like to switch strategies, even myself, just because I get bored doing the same thing over again. So, I love going to a cashback website like
Okay.
Top Cashback or freeshipping.com
Uh-huh.
and just looking for a website I've never heard of before, because a lot
Yeah.
of those niche websites have a ton of gold and you're not going to find it. Honestly, their SEO isn't as great. They can't
Right.
compete with some of those big box retailers in terms
Uh-huh.
of searches. So I like to go find a niche website and then just reverse source. So
Okay.
I'll open up Amazon and see, what can I find? What can I find that this online retailer is selling that maybe I've never heard of, never
Yeah.
seen, and just reverse source on Amazon.com. So I love doing that.
You source with the name of the store or the name of the brands that you see in the store?
Typically the name of the brands that I see in the store. That's typically more successful.
Yeah.
And honestly, if it doesn't have a brand, it's going to be hard to source. So I might just even skip over those things that I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't figure out the manufacturer who makes this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really great. I love using Keep a Product Finder like Brian Olson teaches.
Uh-huh.
I think that is really helpful. And, there's so many different filters that you can use to narrow down what matters to you. But for me, getting that buy box cost to, we're always striving for an average selling price that is pushing our threshold. So, if we're right now averaging $25 or $30 a sale, I'm pushing for 40,
Yeah.
how can I, because the less that we have to prep and pack for the same amount of profit is a win. So when I'm using Keep a Product Finder, I really like to play with those buy box price minimums to get them somewhere that's helping us really reach, because that's going to encourage me to source in a different way.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm your VA now. What is your parameters for me to source for you? What are you looking for with return on investment, profit amount per item, and all that?
That's a great question. And I'll tell you, we honestly like variety. So all of my VAs have a little bit of different, a little bit of different parameters. And I want them to be successful and find success. So we tend to start somewhere and then increase them over time.
Mm-hmm.
Goal would be, gosh, it would be wonderful if we could make $8 profit on an item as a minimum, and 45% ROI is wonderful for us.
But you will accept deals from them that are a lot less, especially if they're getting started?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Will you still buy those deals? If I found something for you that's 30% ROI and $3 profit, are you still going to buy that?
That's a great question. So we have profit minimums based on how long it takes our team to prep an item.
Oh, nice.
So it depends on how easy it is to prep. If all we have to do is put an F&SKU sticker on an item, I'm happy to make $3 all day long, because my team can prep hundreds of those an hour. If it's a fragile item or a bundle that's going to require, maybe it's a bundle of liquids, and so we're going to have to do a lot to make sure those liquids don't leak in shipping, I want to make at least $7.
Yeah.
So we have,
know that. That's awesome that you know that, and also that you're flexible, because a lot of, I'm sure you see this because you have coaching students, they get all stressed out of like, oh, it's not exactly 30% ROI, so it's 29.4, so nope, not a good deal. Just relax. Like, I mean, it's, there's so many ways to do this, and if you have a prep center, that'd be something else you'd have to think about, because you'd have that cost that would probably make you be a little bit more strict. That's awesome. Yeah, these items that get a free ride to Amazon that are small and light, you can just, so what if I make 50 cents on that item?
Right. Absolutely.
It didn't cost anything to send it.
Fast moving, if you can get 40 of those moving a day, who cares?
That's awesome. I love it. Wow. Okay. So I heard that you're pretty detailed, organized, disciplined, and you have a routine. So walk me through what your routine looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's always changing. Honestly, I have to brag on my husband again. He's a great evaluator and I'm not. So he's just like constantly asking me like, what can we do better? What areas can we grow in? He's just really good at that.
Yeah.
So, which is great because it's not my strength. So I have a weekly goal sheet. And so I start my week on Mondays and I know exactly what I'm going to do on Monday because that's what my weekly goal sheet says. And so I have that and I just print it out every Monday. And so I have really specifically assigned tasks Monday through Friday. So right now this is a full-time job for me. I work 40 hours a week or more or less, just, depending on the week. So I spend a lot of time in the business. And one thing that really, like, in the last 2 or 3 months, we've been getting better at is bringing our focus to the things that make us money. And so when I've been assessing that weekly goal sheet and what needs to change about it and how can we make it better, it's so easy as a business owner to get distracted. Like, you could always make your accounting look prettier, more organized. You could always reorganize your poly bags in a way that would be really beautiful. There's always things like that you could do, but are those things making you money? No. So I can get really distracted by all of those things. So I really started thinking about what are the most important things in my week that make me money, and I'm going to get those things done first. So on Mondays, I buy all my replens. So I hop on my computer, I make my weekly shopping list, and I purchase, because that's easy. Like, that's money that's just waiting to be made. I've already done the research. I know what's worth, I know how many I need to buy. So every Monday I buy replens.
Yeah, and you can have a VA do that for if you wanted to. Yes,
I should. I need to do that. I need to outsource that. It's time. So that's my first thing. My second thing is I have a weekly goal for how many replens I'm going to find. So right now I'm trying to find 56 replens a month, which I think comes out to 14 replens a week. And that's just on my own. So again, my VAs are finding replens. We're on some leads lists that I use to help me find more leads, but I want to find on my own 14 replens a week. So that's the second thing that I do. And then once I've done that, I have a shopping goal or an inventory purchasing goal that I'm trying to hit every week. So at that point, whatever difference I need to make up between replens, buying new and old, I'm out to purchase clearance and sale items to make up that difference.
I love it. And you have a team that preps for you, so you don't really have to touch that if you don't want to.
Yes, which is amazing.
Yes, that's awesome.
Prep and ship was, something we did for a long time in a really small space. We ended up purchasing a home that would allow us to utilize the basement as our prep and ship space. So our whole basement is dedicated to the business, and it has a little separate entrance. So my team can just come and go, and they're amazing, and they do tons of prep and ship.
How'd you find your team members?
Yeah, so online, mostly on Facebook, putting Facebook ads out there. We did Indeed for a while, and that was helpful. It was hard in the transition of moving,
Yeah, because you didn't know anybody.
I didn't know anybody, and I didn't know, it was just hard to find good, great team members. And so we have finally found that, but it does take time to find the right people and bring them and get them in the right seat on the bus. But we have a phenomenal team now. And that is one of the best parts of what I do now, because I am such a people person. So getting to have a team of people and not being as siloed, feeling like you're doing this independently has been really great for me.
Yeah. Are they there right now working for you?
They are.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Oh, yeah. So we're getting out a shipment today, which is great.
Wow. Now, when they're working, are you hanging out down there with them doing other Amazon stuff? Okay.
Yeah. My office is right off of their main area. And so my door's open and I'm hanging with them. We're chatting about what we're watching on Netflix. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, it's great.
You said 14 replens a week is your goal. To some people, that'd be like, man, I'd like to just have 14 replens, period. Help me understand. I know it's just because you've done this for so long, you get better at it. It's practice, just like anything else. But if I'm brand new, tell me how to find that many replens. I mean, number one, how do I find my first one? And then after that, what's your trick for finding so many in a week? The fact that you can do that, that's just will blow people's minds listening to this.
Sure. So, for me at this point, not necessarily the first time, but once you get into it a little bit, it's really repeating what works, know? So you find a niche, you find a brand, you find a source that just really works. And you source that as far as you can, as deep as you can, because there's so many multi-packs, variety packs, bundles out there that, you can find one bag of dog treats, but there might be 15 different listings of it combined with something else. So really, I think going deep when you find something that's working is a really big piece of that.
Yes.
Other tricks, reverse sourcing by brand is really helpful, in a similar vein, just because what works can continue to work. But
Yeah.
it can just help you, if you know who sells that brand specifically, it can help you hone in on where to source it from. So,
Yeah.
we know that Walmart sells Mainstays products. So if you find a Mainstays shower curtain, all that research of trying to Google where to find it is done. You know
Yeah.
that you can find it at
Yes.
Walmart. And so it takes some of the guesswork out of it.
Totally does. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. And you just build up your confidence over time. You didn't start there, did you? You just,
No.
yeah.
And there are some weeks I don't find 14. So,
Yeah.
there are some weeks that are harder than others. And then there's some mornings that I have that I'm just knocking it out. And so
Yeah.
it can be hit or miss. And that
Sure.
is my encouragement to people, is just don't give up, especially when you're
Yeah.
starting out, because it can feel like, gosh, this is a lost cause. I've been looking for hours. I haven't found anything. We've all been there, and we're
Oh,
all
yeah.
still there. I have
Oh, yeah.
weeks like that. So, that's just, it is part of it. And the more that you look, the more that you will find.
Yeah. So when you find a new replan to test, how many are you buying of that product?
When we started out, I was comfortable buying 4 to 6. Now that we're a little bit more in it, I probably buy more like 8 to 10.
Okay.
As long as the sales are there, and looking at Keepa, I feel confident that we can have 8 to 10 sales a month. I would never go over whatever I felt like I could move a month.
That's good. 8 to 10. And how often, man, this might just be you don't have to know the exact answer. Maybe you do this, you're so detailed, but like how long are your replans typically good for? How long are you, you have an average like that your replans last for a certain number of weeks, months, years?
That's a great question. I will tell you that I feel like my attrition has gone up the last year. So I'm finding that in the last 12 months, our things are falling off sooner than maybe they were falling off before. And that might just be what we're sourcing more of these days. But I would say on average, a replan will last anywhere from 6 to 9 months.
That's awesome.
But we have some that we've been selling since day one.
Yeah.
And those are, there's not a lot of those, but there are things that we still buy that we have sold this whole time.
That's so cool. Do you go back to the ones that kind of fall off and check them in a few months to see if they're good again? Do you have a system for that?
Not a really strong system, no.
Okay.
Not if we're being honest. I will tell you one thing. We do a lot of seasonal replens.
Okay.
So, but those are pretty easy to track because you can sort by the date that you purchase them. So, in August, I was purchasing a bunch of Halloween stuff. So I can go and look at all my August items, pull a quick Halloween list, and go ahead and pick up all those seasonal replens.
Oh, that's so cool. Wow. So would you recommend for people that want to be more organized like that, set up your days like that this day is dedicated to this day is dedicated to this, or at least the most important things in your business, knock those out in the first couple of days of the week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And however you can hold yourself accountable to those goals, I've mentioned my husband several times. He's so great and he's really good at accountability. Like we would keep for like the longest time, maybe for our first 2 years, we would keep a thermometer on the fridge of my weekly shopping goal. So I would come home and like color in how much I had purchased that day until the thermometer was all the way filled up, which sounds so silly, but it was an easy way to celebrate, an easy way to be accountable to that. And then it was like a public within our family. This is something that's important to us. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
And if you're not at your goal, he can say, get back down in the basement and get to work.
Yeah. We're going to be shopping on Saturday.
That's right.
I'll take you to Waffle House beforehand.
Oh my gosh. That's so cool. I know he's a dentist, right?
He is.
So how does he, does he have time at all to help you much other than just support?
Yeah, no, he totally has time. He definitely helps more with big picture dreaming at this point.
That's cool.
Prior to before we hired a prep and pack team, he was very involved with prep and pack and sourcing. And really he was furloughed during COVID because, even dentist offices had to shut down to a certain extent and we're only providing emergency care for patients. And so, during that time, he was home almost full time. So he was like my full-time employee that I didn't pay. Awesome. But when he went back to work, it was the perfect opportunity for me to hire someone because basically we had created a need and were able to grow during that time. That's so awesome. That when he went back to work, we were ready to we brought on 2 employees at one time because
Wow.
We were ready. I waited too long, probably.
That's so cool. Do you guys have a certain niche that you found that your main thing? Yeah.
No,
No?
we love to sell in so
Yeah.
many
That's
categories.
cool.
So we still sell, grocery, health and
Uh-huh.
beauty, household items, small appliances, computers, electronics. We will really sell anything as long as it's
Good.
profitable and I feel like I can prep it in a great way to get it to the customer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's good. I tell my coaching students, I think that diversification again is really important because if something happens to one of your streams, of income by category, it's not going to affect you. There have been
Right.
seasons where Amazon has said, okay, we don't want you to send in toys, or okay, we're going to
Yes.
buckle down on vitamins and supplements. And it hasn't been really a major deal because we're spread out amongst
Yeah, you're
different
so
categories.
diversified.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So you deal with a lot of coaching students, you said, that are brand new to this. Give me some advice if I'm brand new. Like, talk to the person that's just needs some encouragement, that's just starting this out, that wants to be where you guys are.
Yeah. Just don't give up because there will be hard days,
Oh, yeah.
I think I've told this story before, but for the longest time, we were taking our shipments into our local UPS store just to save a little bit of money. And they weren't going to offer me free pickup. So I was just taking them in manually. And one day the UPS manager looked at me and he was like, we see a lot of people do this for a week, a month, a couple of months. You've been coming in here twice a week for 2 years, dropping off your shipments. And it blew his mind. So I think that's part of it. It's just knowing that it's a process. There's a learning curve. It's going to take you some time to develop those skills. Just don't give up and stick with it and it'll pay off.
That's so good. Gosh.
Yeah.
What do you, last question, what do you see amongst your coaching students, any tips you have that you could say, they all deal with this, or something that you could just help the new people, besides not giving up? What are some of the things you see amongst those new people that you're coaching all the time that help everybody else?
I think increasing your average selling price. I think that's a really big game changer. We all start somewhere, like I did with Dollar Tree. We all start somewhere that makes us comfortable and doesn't feel like too big of a jump. But the more that you can get out of your comfort zone and spend a little bit more money on a product, invest a little bit more, trust that you have confidence and you understand Keepa and you know what's going to sell and what's not going to sell, so that you can buy some of those higher ticket items. That's just going to skyrocket your business. It was a game changer for us. Because we were able to just do such a greater scale when we increased our average selling price or average buy cost per item, however you want to look at it. So I think that can be really helpful a few months into it.
Cool. So you have 20 coaching students. You need any more?
Maybe.
Really?
I really love it. It's one of the best things that I do.
Send some people your way then.
I love it. I love helping people. We all have dreams. We all have goals. For us, we're ready to have a kid. And so, this was a way for us to make that happen, for us to have more financial margin in our life. And so anyone who has a goal and they need some financial stability, some financial margin to get there, I love helping people figure out how to make that happen.
Cool. Well, thanks for what you do. Obviously, you're a blessing. If they keep sending, if you've got 20 coaching students, you're doing something right. So
it's super fun. Can I say one other thing?
Of course, anything you want.
The only other thing I'll say is just embrace community wherever you can and reach out to people. Some of my students, they're so nervous to message someone on Facebook. I'm like, just do it. They need more than you know. It's never going to hurt to send, just reach out, send a message, ask for help, because that has been another really big game changer for us, is knowing that there's people who are doing this with us, that we can ask questions of, that that we can go to when we're struggling with something, and they understand the business and can help us navigate those things.
You're not doing it alone. You got a community behind you. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Good. I'll put a link for the My Silent Team community in there too. So
that'd be great.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. This has been super fun getting to know you and hearing your story. Congrats on your success and your upcoming little baby. That's so much fun. It's going to change that'll be a game changer.
It will be. I don't think we're ready, but I've heard that there's no way to get ready. So
That's going to be fun. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You're welcome back anytime. Really appreciate it.
You've been listening to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger. From right here in the Dallas Metroplex, Ryan teaches several entrepreneurial courses and group coaching programs to students all over the world. Be sure to listen next week at the same time for Streams of Income with Ryan Rieger.